Are you frustrated with your IELTS preparation? I got the score I desired on the first try, and today I'm gonna tell you exactly how I did it and share with you some very useful resources. Hey, my fellow English learner! I'm Lady Giraffe, an English language enthusiast, and today we're gonna talk about IELTS. For anyone who doesn't know, IELTS is an English proficiency exam. And usually people take it to move to an English-speaking country or to study at university in an English-speaking country. Stick to the end of the video to learn about some very helpful resources and one amazing free course about IELTS preparation from an ex-IELTS examiner I fully trust. Let's dive in! Even though it's important to have specific exam skills to ace IELTS, it's even more important to have a good level of English. Because at the end of the day, IELTS is just an English test. I decided to study for IELTS in 2017 to take IELTS General, and my reading and listening skills were pretty good back then. My speaking and writing skills, on the other hand, were pretty much non-existent. My IELTS preparation consists of two parts. Improving my general English skills, 8 months, and then studying specifically for IELTS, 6 months. Almost a year and a half of studying may sound excessive to you, but back then I really wanted to make sure I was ready for the test. First, let's talk about general English, reading and listening. I consumed a lot of content in English on a daily basis, a few hours a day. I read magazines like Scientific American, National Geographic, and The Economist, and it helped me a lot to improve my more scientific academic vocabulary and grammar. Speaking, I took an American pronunciation course to reduce my accent and sound clearer. And then I had lessons with a teacher and a small group of students for 14 months. So I had speaking lessons, and this helped immensely to start speaking English, because without actually speaking, you cannot improve the skill. Writing. I did practically nothing and had no idea where to start from. After 8 months of having speaking lessons and immersing myself in English, it was finally time for me to start studying for IELTS for real. IELTS listening. I continued to consume content in English, but also did practice tests. I listened to the recordings once, then answered the questions, and after that, I analyzed my mistakes. IELTS reading. Again, I continued to consume content in English, but focused mostly on grammar and vocabulary. I highlighted interesting collocations and grammar structures in my magazines, and I mostly read books and articles on common IELTS topics, such as education, work, technology, the environment, etc. I also did practice tests and worked on such specific reading skills as scanning and skimming. Scanning means that you're quickly reading this text to get the general idea what this text is about. And skimming, you're trained to find a specific fact in the text. Also, I had to find and implement strategies for true, false, not given questions and matching headings, because they were really tricky for me. IELTS speaking. I continued lessons with a teacher and also practiced answering the questions by myself. Often I would talk to myself or record myself speaking on the camera or on my phone, and this helped a lot to build up my confidence to express myself freely in English. For part 2, I usually ignored bullet points and talked about the general topic freely, because bullet points made me stuck pretty quickly. I also learned to make stuff up, because you don't actually need to be truthful in your answers. By the way, reading and listening to a variety of content in English was crucial for being able to express myself freely on common IELTS topics. IELTS writing. When it comes to writing essays, my starting point was pretty much zero. So I started with having a journal. I said to myself I would write 5 long sentences every single day. And I did it for 3 months and it was super helpful. If I got stuck and didn't know what kind of synonym I could use, which preposition would work better, or how to spell a word, I made a note and looked up answers to all my questions a couple of times a week. To improve my active vocabulary I could actually use in my essays, I started looking for new topic-specific words in different articles and studied them using Anki and my notes. I tried to use new vocabulary in my writing and in my journal as much as possible. When it comes to grammar, I had a few areas I need improvement in, so I focused on 3 specific grammar areas: subject-verb agreement, prepositions, and articles. And I worked really hard on minimizing the amount of mistakes I made while writing essays or speaking in these 3 areas. To get a general idea on how to write a decent essay, I enrolled for an IELTS course. It turned out to be the best decision I could have made. There's so much contradicting information on the internet, and for a while I was really confused and overwhelmed. And enrolling for a course really helped me to learn the basics, the theory behind writing essays. The first few essays took me up to 3 hours to write, and I remember being exhausted after that. It took me a while to get to the point when I could practice both task 1 and task 2 and finish them in 1 hour. I practiced writing essays and letters on a regular basis and ended up writing around 45 essays and 20 letters. 5 of those essays were assessed by a teacher, and I treasured the feedback the teacher gave me and analyzed the feedback really well. I finally took IELTS General in 2018 and got an overall 8, with 8.5 for reading, 8.5 for listening, 7.5 for speaking, and 7.5 for writing. Let's quickly go through some resources. It's probably not a good idea to look for practice tests from random websites on the internet. So here are a few official websites that you can trust. TakeIELTS.britishcouncil.org, IELTSADP.com, IELTS.org, CambridgeEnglish.org, WeLoveIELTS.cambridge.org. IELTS Liz is a great website with advice and a useful list of common IELTS topics. IELTS Advantage has a lot of useful tips on how to prepare for the test, and it was the course I enrolled in and got all my knowledge from about writing. Highly recommend. IELTS Compass was created by a fantastic teacher and an ex-IELTS examiner, Sam Poole, and he has a full course about every part of IELTS completely free on his website. He used to work at IELTS Advantage, and I fully trust his experience and knowledge. Check him out. Preparing for IELTS took my English to a whole new level and taught me a lot. But it was a journey full of effort and hard work. Have you ever taken IELTS? Or are you planning to? I hope this video was even a little bit useful, and thank you for watching. See you next time with more awesome language content.